Arc Aberration was groundbreaking for the entire Arc franchise, not only for the creative environments, but for the diverse ecosystem of creatures that only this arc could host. Among those creatures, some were strong enough to break the very balance of the game, and some, you know, were there. So in this video, I'm going to give you the breakdown of every Arc Aberration creature, new and old. We'll look at their abilities, strengths, and I will also teach you how to tame each and every creature while I'm at it. So hello friends, and welcome to the ultimate tier list. Oh, hey, while I grab the video for you, I just want to feature these amazing friends. Okay, being completely transparent with you guys, my goal was to hit 700 subscribers by the end of August. And then we actually hit 700 subscribers before August even began, so I pushed it back to 800. And you guys obliterated that as well. So this is my way of giving thanks to literally everybody who decided to take time out of their day and support my channel. I say it a lot, but it genuinely means the world to have new friends on the channel. So truly, thank you all. And if you're new here and want to support the channel, all I really ask is that you watch the video to the end, which you were probably already gonna do. And also, while I'm at it, if you want to be featured in the next video, all you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment down below. Oh, here it is. All right, enjoy the ultimate tier list. So starting in F tier, we have the Seeker. And let me just get this out of the way. I'm rating these guys based on their abilities, their taming process, and just how cool they are as a creature. So even if a creature can be tamed, that doesn't necessarily mean it's cool or good. And vice versa, even if a creature can't be tamed, it doesn't mean it's a bad creature. To illustrate this point, I'm going to use the Seeker as an example. Okay, so right off the bat, you cannot tame these guys. In base Arc, and I'm pretty sure Arc Ascended, these guys are completely untamable, which doesn't necessarily make it a bad creature, because me personally, I absolutely love their design. This fits the Aberration aesthetic to a T. That being said though, these fuckers are annoying. If you've ever had the pleasure of going onto the scorched earth surface, you will most definitely be running into these creatures. All they really are is just an annoying flying pest. That being said though, there are a lot of them. These guys are not fun to deal with. In any way, shape, form, gender, dimension, nobody likes dealing with Seekers. So even though they aren't tameable, they have a cool design, but their cool design is not enough to make up for it. Sorry, I don't really know if there's going to be any Seeker fans that are fighting for the Seekers. I mean, if you are, by all means, tell me who you are in the comments, but it's going into F tier, I'm sorry. Alright, next in F tier is the Glowbug. Okay, listen, the Glowbug is alright. I mean, leagues better than the Seeker because it's not going to try to kill you, and it's not blatantly annoying, but it's just a bug, sadly. Like, don't get me wrong, they are a little bit useful in the game. Like, if you're low on light energy and your light pet needs quick recharge, sure. But not only can you not tame them, I don't think I personally have even used a Glowbug. Like, in-game, I don't think I've ever needed to use a Glowbug. So I'm not saying they're completely useless, but at the same time, they're not the most useful. And I can't really give them any credit for their design because we already have two other kind of bugs like this. So again, Glowbug fans, don't at me. Why are you a Glowbug fan? Like, there's so many other creatures. Just F tier, get out of my face. Okay, moving on to E tier, we have the Lamprey. So in my research for this video, I looked up just a list of every single original Aberration creature. And in that list, there were also aberrant creatures, because in Aberration, there are different versions of dinosaurs that are glowing, because Arc Aberration, like, shit glows in Arc Aberration, you get it. But then I came across the Lamprey, and I was like, what? Because the Lamprey isn't an aberrant creature, and I was under the complete assumption that the Lamprey was from the island. But I was very wrong, apparently. So there's that. I think what happened was I just never ran into these things, and I assumed that they were an upgraded version of a leech. I don't know. Okay, anyways, back to ranking the Lamprey. It is an alright creature. You can technically tame it. You can put fish baskets down and then it'll crawl into one and you tamed yourself a lamprey. But that is completely defeating the purpose of what a lamprey is supposed to do. You see, what these guys are actually designed to do is to suck radiation off of you. So if for any reason early game you want to go down into the radiation zones, you don't have to put on the radiation armor, which, cool. That's actually a pretty useful ability. But it's also just like a lamprey. Like, I'm sorry, you get no points for creativity here. It's just a lamprey. I don't know why it's sucking radiation. I don't think they do that. That being said, though, I get that we're in Arc Aberration and things aren't, let's say, just exactly like normal, but it still has a practical use, and say what you will, but I would probably use this thing over the bug, and most certainly over the Seeker. But all in all, that isn't saying much for him, so I'm just gonna throw him in E tier. Okay, next in E tier is gonna be the Roll Rat. And admittedly, I'm stepping into a little bit of hot water because I know there are some roll rat fans out there. I am the antithesis of a roll rat fan. But let's start at the beginning. Roll rats can actually be tamed. So what you have to do is you have to get honey and you have to follow them around. Once the roll rat begins to bury, you go up and you give it to the roll rat. Do that enough time and friendship ensues. So cool, you got yourself a roll rat. Now what? Well, they are really effective gatherers. I'm pretty sure they are the best wood gatherer in Ark, and they also collect berries and such. So that being said, the roll rat obviously has its functions and it has its merits. So why is it an E tier? Because I have beef. I'm sorry. You can lynch me in the comments if you really want to, but I just think there is not that much merit to a rat that can roll. Like, the roll mechanic in the roll rat is really lame. Like, there isn't much merit to it. And unfortunately, that is one of, if not the only defining feature of the roll rat. Because while it may be an effective gatherer, want to know what else is an effective gatherer? Pretty much every single herbivore in Ark Aberration. Not saying it doesn't have its merits, but even still, the uncreativity with the slightly more annoying taming process and the beef I have with the giant rat, it's going in E tier for me. Listen, I would hear you out if you would personally argue for a higher ranking. But for now, beef wins out. Okay, moving on to D tier, we have the Featherlight. Now, the Featherlight is a decent creature. I will not lie, there is no beef here. The light pets in general are just an amazing idea. Each one of them is adorable. I love all of them. This one specifically is in D tier because of the taming process. Now, light pets in general are something that you're going to want pretty much always in Ark Aberration, so it's really important that you can get them early on. The Featherlight is all the way in the radiation zone. So by the time you're ready to actually tame a Featherlight, you will probably already have a bulb dog. And all things considered, it is not that much more worth it. That aside though, it is a really nice design. It's just simple passive tame. The only reason I can't put them any higher is because usefulness kind of wins out. Now you could make the argument that the Featherlight is better than other light pets because of where it is. And admittedly, it does have some different stats. I'm pretty sure it has like a larger light radius than other light pets. But even still, it really isn't worth getting bodied in the radiation zone. There is literally everything down there. Everything down there is lethal. Being down there is lethal. So, Featherlight, I love you, buddy. Love you just as much as I would any of my other kids. But you're gonna have to go in D tier because I am not getting eviscerated by the Reaper Queen. I'm just not gonna do that. Alright, next up in D tier is gonna be the Basilisk. Now, the Basilisk, just like the Featherlight, is a pretty decent creature. Again, it is in D tier because of the taming. So how do you tame it? Now, the Basilisk actually has a really unique taming method. What you have to do is you have to find a Basilisk, obviously, and you basically have to chase it around a ring of rock drake eggs. It will slowly begin to eat these eggs, and then bing bang boom, friendship ensues. Now, normally for a strong creature, this wouldn't be an issue at all. But that's the problem. These guys aren't strong enough to justify even sacrificing one rock drake egg. Like, don't get me wrong, base stats are pretty good. They're really good at maneuvering on the ground. But the rock drake is amazing. It has amazing stats. It has amazing mobility. You cannot trade a Basilisk for a rock drake and call that an even trade. And you're sacrificing like at least 3 rock drakes, like at the very least, at least 3 rock drakes for 1 Basilisk. In the art of trade deals, this is not a good trade deal. You would be better off just hatching the rock drake eggs. And sure, you might say, I want a giant snake. Well, in that case, the Basilisk actually has a really cool design. It has really cool torpor effects. And just in general, it's an amazing aberration creature. But however true that may be, it will never be true enough to justify sacrificing rock drake babies. I love the rock drake. Get away from my babies. So all in all, not worth its tame. The Basilisk will go into D tier. Okay, starting off C tier, we have Rockwell. Okay, justification pylons activate. I know it's bold, but you're really gonna have to hear me out. Rockwell has no cool or standout abilities. I personally feel like the Rockwell fight was very eh. Like, let me just get this out of the way right now. His design is really cool, but at the same time, it gives me more Eldritch Horror than Ark Survival Evolved, which, yes, is a matter of preference. But in this instance, I don't necessarily prefer it. This is probably going to be the hardest one for me to rank, because everything behind the concept of the Rockwell boss fight is a really cool idea. Like, I, along with many others, got into the Ark lore because of this boss fight. Because what the hell is a human doing being the boss? Obviously, questions needed to be answered. But I just personally feel like the idea didn't come through all the way. The idea is definitely really well expanded upon in like Genesis 2, I'm not arguing that, but I mean the original Rockwell boss fight in Aberration. Ultimately, how you feel about the Rockwell boss fight is going to come to personal preference. And what I personally feel is that this boss fight was probably the least engaging at the time. Well, I guess in that same breath, there was also the Manticore and Scorched Earth, and we're just not going to talk about that. But comparing this boss fight to the island, to Extinction, to Genesis, this one falls behind significantly. Like, to me, it felt more tedious to defeat Rockwell, which, if we're just going off the boss fight, is kind of unfair because everything else about Rockwell is done pretty well. Well, Rockwell, okay. Anyways, it's just the most important thing about him is being the boss of the game, and I feel like he doesn't do that the best. So feel free to fight me on this, because I'm not entirely sure of my placement, but I'm putting him in C tier. Okay, moving on in C tier, we have the Yeeling. Now you might be saying, Kaze, what the hell is a Yeeling? And to that question, I would like to answer, I also didn't do that part of the homework. So we're about to find out together. You see, with the release of Ark Survival Ascended, a lot of things changed, and unfortunately, I was doing other things. So from what I could find, Yeeling and Cosmo are the two new Ark Aberration Ascended editions. And let me just say, when I first saw this design, I was absolutely foaming at the mouth. This thing looks really cool. This excitement would later go down the drain. So first, let me explain how to tame it. So first, what you're gonna do is you're gonna acquire plant species Z, grenades. You're just gonna have to bear with me, okay? It is then gonna jump into the air and fly around you. And like literally fly around you in circles. Just gonna keep doing that over and over again. And while it does that, it's gonna shoot feathers at you. Occasionally, once it reaches like 30 or 40 feathers, it's gonna dive down at you and you're gonna throw the grenade at it. I know it seems counterintuitive, but again, bear with me. This is gonna stun it and you're gonna feed it biotoxin. You're really gonna have to bear with me. Because the biotoxin is actually knocking it out, so once you do that enough times, you actually contain the Yeeling. Whew, okay, after all that effort, you finally have yourself a Yeeling. Was it worth it? Yeah, I guess. Okay, look, in Ark, obviously the taming process is going to be one of the most looked at things because that's arguably one of the most fun parts of Ark. And when things have original and fresh taming methods, it's typically seen as a good thing, and it's typically seen as more fun. This is not fun. In their effort to make a creative taming process, they just made a nightmare. Because I genuinely mean it when I say that the taming process drags this thing all the way down to C tier. Like, otherwise, I would put this like A tier. Or like, maybe even S tier, but I'm putting it in C tier because I would rather go down to the radiation zone completely butt naked with only a lamprey on and steal a rock drake egg before I even contemplate taming a Yeeling. Okay. So with that said, I will also tell you some of the good things that the Yeeling has. The Yeeling is really useful. It's kind of like a mini rock drake. They can glide, they can stick to walls, they can dive bomb, they can shoot feathers like bullets, and also I'm pretty sure there's like 5 different types of feathers that you can make. So they can do a lot. So I'm not dogging on the Yeeling for no reason, because I recognize that it has a lot of strengths and it's really original as a creature. It's just that I really dislike that taming process. That is going to drag it down to C tier for me. Moving on to B tier, we have the Nameless. Now, the Nameless are a staple of Ark Aberration. That being said though, I have some beef. Now, the Nameless are pretty high up even though they aren't tameable creatures. The reason for that being is because they are really well designed creatures, and not just physically. Physically, their design is great. It fits the Aberration MO to a T. But on top of that, you also have their gaming mechanics. The way that there's an alpha Nameless, the way that more Nameless spawn, and then there's also the Reaper King that spawns eventually. All amazing stuff. Then of course you also have the Nameless Venom, which albeit specific, does also have its uses. So the Nameless on paper are great creatures. But here's the beef. They are intrinsically linked to the Reapers, but I don't know how. Like, they follow similar game mechanics to the Reaper, obviously they're both weak to light. But the thing is, their design makes them feel like totally separate creatures. Like, don't get me wrong, I like the relationship between the Nameless and the Reapers, but also at the same time, their designs don't necessarily reflect that relationship. Like, still to this day, I don't know if the Nameless are just a different species of Reaper, or maybe they're just like an entirely different creature. I don't really know. But either way, I would like the Nameless so much more if that information was just depicted. Either that or they're just made into separate creatures altogether. Also, really sucks that you can't tame them. That's gonna drag them down a whole lot. But yeah, all things considered, definitely a B tier. Alright, next in B tier, we have the Shinehorn. Okay, we have officially reached the point of no beef. Shinehorns are amazing. They're incredibly simple, but it works. They are just tiny goats with shining horns. They make amazing light pets, and they're just a normal passive tame. My only gripe is that they do spawn in the bioluminescence biome, so it's not exactly beginner friendly, which that's not even more of a complaint, it's more like an observation. Because it's entirely plausible to go into the bioluminescence biome and not get eviscerated and leave with a Shinehorn. Same cannot be said for the Featherlight. And of course they're not game breaking. Obviously I would prefer like taming a trike over a Shinehorn because the Shinehorn doesn't have too many uses. But sometimes the best use is just sitting there and looking pretty. Trust me, I would know a thing or two. Oh, that's my bones. Okay, that's my bone. Oh, my. I'm getting destroyed. If anybody was here, I would live. I swear to God, please help me. All right, moving on to the top of B tier, we have Cosmo. Now, Cosmo is an arc ascended creature that I did not know that I needed. So, he's a little bit different from a normal passive tame, because Cosmo likes to play red light, green light. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get some chitin, and you're gonna find yourself Cosmo. You'll give him a piece of chitin, and if he's a low level, then you'll just tame him immediately. But if he doesn't tame immediately, he's gonna run away, and he's gonna shine a red light while he does his little dancey dance. And basically, he's telling you not to move or get closer, so you just stay still, and you wait for the light to get green. And you're basically just playing red light, green light until you get to him, and you can feed him. Now this, take note, Sealing, this is an example of an original taming method done right. Are you taking those notes? So, it doesn't take a genius to see that Cosmo is the most adorable thing in this universe. The fact that he does his little dancey dance is good enough for me. He also does shoot webs on your shoulder to slow enemies down, so that's plus. Oh yeah, and what else was it? He can also turn you into Spider-Man. Yes. So, on top of being a shoulder mount, he's also equipable. Hold on. Yes, he's also equipable. And when you do that, you get a web shooter, like a literal in-game web shooter. You become Spider-Man in Arc. Congratulations. And this ability will come in handy at literally any point during the game. So a one-time passive tame for all these abilities in return, I would say it's definitely worth it. The only thing I would say for Cosmo is that he doesn't necessarily fit the aesthetic of Arc Aberration. Like, he is definitely adorable, but Arc Aberration isn't necessarily known for its adorable designs. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of is, but mostly not. So Cosmo loses a little bit of points on aesthetic for me, but we all forgive him, right? Like, look at his face. You're really gonna say no to him? That's what I thought. Well, that being said, though, I am gonna say no to him. He's gonna stay in B tier, so. Alright, at the top of B tier, we have the Carcanos. So why in B tier, you ask? They have good base stats, they have good movement, they pretty much fit the Aberration aesthetic to a T. Well, because they are a Cannonball KO tame. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Titanosaur on the island and the Rock Golem on Scorched Earth both have to be knocked out by literal cannonballs. And the Carcanos continues that pattern. So don't get me wrong, the Carcanos is still a great tame to have, but it is going to be a little bit tricky to get. More often than not, you're going to have to make a trap for the Carcanos, which can cost you some material. But all things considered, having one early game is going to make things a whole lot easier, especially when it comes to the bioluminescent biome. Having a way to get in and out of relatively dangerous biomes is always going to be a plus for a creature. So while it's a little bit of a headache to tame, if you can manage it, the Carcanos is a great addition to your team. So, top of B tier. Alright, moving on to A tier, we have the Ravager. These ugly little guys have a special place in my heart, because I, as a child, used to raise armies of these guys. They are a standard KO tame, but also, the more Ravagers you have, the stronger the abilities, because of the pack bonus. So, I got to work. Listen, I don't know if it was just me. It might have just been me, but if for any reason the Ravager species went extinct, I would have an entire backup population. Like, it was on site for them, but in the most friendly kind of way. So that being said, Ravagers are really useful. Okay, so like I said already, they have a pack bonus. But they were also given the ability to walk on zip lines, which sounds kind of odd, but considering the fact that Arc Aberration is basically just a whole bunch of caves, it suddenly becomes very useful when you can zipline with your creatures. And also, at this point in the game, pretty much any fight you're gonna need to fight, more often than not, Ravagers can deal with. I mean, obviously, nobody was dealing with my Ravagers because it's kind of hard to deal with 100 of anything. But even just saying you have like 5 Ravagers, until you can get like a Spinosaurus or a bigger dinosaur like that, Ravagers could get you through most of early game. They also did really good with the design. Like I've been saying, Arc Aberration MO to the T. Ravagers are great for this. So with that all out of the way, the ugly babies are gonna go right into A tier. Alright, next in A tier is the Bulb Dog. Now, Ravagers might be ugly babies, but Bulb Dogs are the definition of an ugly baby. Everybody fell in love with the Bulb Dog from the announcement trailer. This has become an Arc classic, along with the T-Rex and the dodo. When you think Arc Aberration, you typically think the Bulb Dog. And it's for good reason. Light pets are obviously very useful in game, and the Bulb Dog is probably going to be one of the easiest ones to find. And also, it is just a passive tame. So, very useful, it's a classic, so we love the Bulb Dog. Obviously, not breaking the game, but Bulb Dog, you know? Alright, next in A tier, we have the Glowtail. I'm just going to say this so you can have your suspicions confirmed. Bias. Heavy bias incoming. And even though I'm aware of it, I am not going to do anything about it. So in real life, I am really into reptiles. That is probably the closest thing I'm going to get to a dinosaur, so I love them. And when Arc Aberration released and everybody was hunting for bulldogs, I was hunting for glowtails. I literally would not properly start my playthrough until I got a glowtail. Like, glowtail was priority number 1. Obviously, he's a light pet, so he's going to be useful no matter what. In my opinion, he's the best glow pet you can get. Not just because of his design, but also he's a step above the bulldog, but you also don't have to go into a different biome to get him. Also, they're relatively easy to find because they're always in artifact caves. And, once again, also a passive tame. And to top all that off, they fit the Arc Aberration MO to a T. Does that necessitate an A tier? Not necessarily, but no, I can't hear you. He's an A tier. He's an A tier now. Okay, moving on to the top of A tier. Okay, this is going to be the test of how far my garbage opinions can get before somebody calls me out about it in the comments. So at the top of A tier, we have the Reaper King. Okay, don't get me wrong. Do not misunderstand me. I love the Reaper King just as much as you, but you're going to understand my point better once we get to S tier. So for now, let's talk about the Reaper King. Reaper Kings are late game for sure, but they are absolute beasts. A good Reaper King ensures that you will not have to worry about any fight for the rest of your playthrough. Maybe aside from Rockwell and like other Reapers, but in general, you're not gonna have to worry about a fight. There are just too many things to compliment about this thing, so imagine that I'm saying all of it. Like health, attack, you get it, the whole 9 yards. This thing has everything. It has 3 separate attacks. It has a tail swipe, it has a bite, and then it also has a poison attack. And it can also leap, which nobody expected, but everybody welcomed. On top of all that, like as a creature, they play a really cool role in the world. Like I'm pretty sure out of every non-boss creature in all of Ark, the Reapers are the most original. Well, not necessarily original, but they do have the most depth as creatures. So I am putting them at the top of A tier, and you're about to see why. Okay, moving on to S tier, we have the Reaper Queen. Yep, I'm doing this. The Reaper Queen is better than the Reaper King, even though it isn't tameable. Like, I am sorry, but the Reaper King is peanuts compared to the Reaper Queen. You see, something that I neglected to mention during the Reaper King section is how you tame it, which obviously you would want to know how to tame this god tier creature. But the reason why I left it out is because it more has to do with the Reaper Queen than it does have to do with the Reaper King. You can't just go out into the wild and tame yourself a Reaper King. It would be pretty chill of them if you could, but they are very receptive to that. What you have to do is you have to kill a Reaper Queen and get the Reaper Pheromone. Once you do that, you're gonna fight another Reaper Queen and you're gonna almost kill it, and once it's almost dead, it's gonna be ready to make a baby. Now, the last thing you wanna do is fuck the Reaper Queen. So, don't do that. Instead, what you're gonna do is you're gonna wait for her to sniff you, and when she does, she's gonna grab you with her tail, and then she'll put a baby inside of you. You will then use the aforementioned pheromone to trick the baby that you carry into thinking that you're the mother. And then, bing bang boom, you got yourself a Reaper Queen. King. You got yourself a Reaper King. Even though you end up taming a Reaper King, the whole process belongs to the queen. And obviously, this is an amazing taming process, but I can't confidently attribute it to the Reaper King, so I'm gonna put the Reaper Queen in S tier. Even aside from just the taming process, the Reaper Queen is just better in every sense. She has the better design, she has the better stats, she has the better everything. It really sucks that there isn't a method to tame a Reaper Queen, because that would undoubtedly make the Reaper Queen, like, the best creature. Like, if I ever did a tier list of the best creatures of every map, the Reaper Queen would probably take the top spot of all the maps. Either way though, they are still pretty much everything Arc Aberration stands for, so I feel like the Reaper Queen does deserve S tier. Alright, top of S tier, probably not too hard to guess. Again, bias alert in full force, we have the Rock Drake. I love the Rock Drake. They happen to be the best creature in Arc Aberration. It is the same mechanic as the Wyvern. You go to their nest, you steal an egg, and you raise it yourself. And for the record, that is and still continues to be to this very day my favorite taming method ever. They are a sort of late game tame, but also at the same time, they are so worth it. Like, the Rock Drake is probably the opposite of the Featherlight. While it is not worth it to go down there for a Featherlight because of how little it can do for you, it is definitely worth it to go down there for a Rock Drake. Even if you have like 2 pencils and a lamprey, go after a Rock Drake egg. You won't regret it. They have really good stats, and for the most part, people use them as bossing creatures against Rockwell. They also have the best movement abilities in the entire map, arguably the entire game. So while I am biased, I don't think it's unreasonable to put them at the top. Because you can go the whole game without taming a Carcanos, without a Basilisk, or even a Reaper, but the odds of you going through the entirety of Arc Aberration without a Rock Drake is insanely low, because these guys are just that useful. I would say the Rock Drake and the Reaper Queen are on par, but you can tame the Rock Drake. So, in my opinion, top of the tier list every single time. So there it is, the Arc Aberration tier list. Let me know if you want me to rank the other map's original creatures, because I can assure you, I will never get tired of talking about Arc. And I want to thank you all again. The support you guys have been giving me has been nothing short of amazing. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you guys want to be featured, all you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment. Alright, it looks like there is nothing left to be said. So with that, I bid you peace, my friend.